It all started with an unmarked white envelope addressed to me. I'm Mia, nearly 60 years old. I divorced my husband 15 years ago after he had an affair. Since then, I've lived alone, but for the last year, I've been staying with my second son, Alex, and his girlfriend, Chloe. My oldest son, David, who is 35 now, lives in an apartment close to his work. I was living a quiet life, working part-time, until one day this envelope arrived, with just my name and address written on it. Inside was a bill from a hotel. What's this? I wondered, but when I looked closer, I saw that the bill wasn't for me, it was for my son, David. It was a bill for wedding and reception costs from about 2 weeks ago. What's going on? Did David get married? David had a girlfriend, whom I met only once a few months ago, but there was no talk of marriage back then. Honestly, I didn't like her much. Her name was Lisa, I think. She wouldn't make eye contact, kept saying and oh, and seemed unhappy about something. Could it be that David married her? I quickly called David, but he didn't answer. Maybe he was at work, so I left a message on his apartment's landline, and a woman picked up. It was Lisa. When she realized it was me, she said, annoyed, I told David to get rid of the landline. Did you two get married? Are you living together? I asked, a little shocked. Yes, we got married. We're living together. What's the problem? Lisa replied flatly. I was taken aback. I got a hotel bill from your wedding. No one told me about it. Oh, the bill came already? I sent it because I hoped you'd pay, she said, sounding calm. We picked a venue that allowed us to pay later. We paid the deposit, but we thought you should cover the rest. I couldn't believe it. They had a wedding without telling me, and now they wanted me to pay? Lisa's voice was irritated as she continued. David really wanted to marry me. I didn't want a mother-in-law, so I refused many times. So naturally, you should pay. If you don't, David will be in serious debt. Her cold words brought me back to reality. What does David think about this? I asked. He's fine with it. Don't bother trying to reach him. I blocked your number, Lisa said with a smug tone. That's why I couldn't get through earlier, I muttered. I'm telling you now, unless it's a wedding, funeral, or something like that, don't contact us, and even for those, don't expect us to spend money, she added. Why are you avoiding me like this? I asked, confused. It's simple, isn't it? A mother-in-law is a nuisance. Plus, you're poor after your divorce, right? Lisa said, mocking me. We can't have you asking for money. I was stunned but also furious. If I'm so poor, why are you sending me this bill? That's a different issue. Just pay it, she snapped before hanging up. I stood there, speechless, holding the phone. Mom, it was my son Alex's voice that brought me back to reality. Hours seemed to have passed, and I was standing in a dark room. Tears filled my eyes as I told Alex everything. He hadn't heard about the marriage and was furious. That's unbelievable. She sounds like someone with a terrible temper. I thought she'd be a good match for David, Alex said, clearly disappointed. Yeah, she's awful, I said. David had always been spoiled by my ex-mother-in-law and looked down on me. When he was a kid, he'd call me names like old hag and useless. He and my ex-husband treated me terribly. But Alex, you always stood by me, I added. After my divorce, I lived alone for a long time. Sensing my loneliness, Alex invited me to live with him and Chloe. What should I do about this bill? It's over $20,000, I wondered, feeling completely overwhelmed. I could pay the bill with the alimony from my ex-husband, but honestly, I didn't want to use that money. I had planned to save it for Alex and Chloe's wedding or for when they have kids. They've both always been so kind to me, and I had decided to use the alimony and property settlement money, which my stingy ex-husband had kept for himself, for them. Alex, however, said, Mom, that money is yours. You don't need to use it for us, and it's unthinkable to use it for David. He took the bill from me. I'll throw it away at work. Remember what David did to you? You absolutely cannot pay this, he said. Even though David had treated me terribly, I had given birth to him, and I knew if I had the bill, I would feel guilty and pay it. Alex knew that, and honestly, I was relieved. 2 weeks later, Lisa called me. Why haven't you paid yet? The venue just called me because the payment deadline passed, she demanded. I talked it over with Alex, and we decided there's no need to pay. Can't you handle it with the wedding gifts? I managed to say, even though my heart was racing. Lisa immediately became angry. We moved, and we've already spent all the wedding gifts. What are you going to do about this? She snapped. What? You moved? Where to? I asked, confused. None of your business, she yelled. This woman wanted nothing to do with me, and it became clear to me that I needed to act fast. Fine, I said. Here's my counteroffer. I'll give you $10,000, and in return, we'll part ways. No contact, not even for weddings or funerals. We live as if we don't exist to each other. How about that? $10,000 is not enough. I need at least $20,000, Lisa replied. Are you serious? You didn't invite me to the wedding, didn't even tell me where you moved, and now you want $20,000? I was losing my temper. I don't care. You only have 20 years left to live anyway. We'll live twice as long as you, so we want all your money, Lisa said coldly. That's cruel, I said. Well, we'll get that $20,000 one way or another. Once you pay, we'll cut ties, as you wanted, she said. I didn't want anything to do with Lisa anymore, so I agreed to her terms. Alex would probably be furious, but I didn't want to deal with David and his wife any longer. A year later, Alex married Chloe. They were about to move into a new home, and even though I planned to live alone, they both asked me to stay with them. So, I gave them a wedding gift and also prepaid 2 years' rent for their new place and helped with their mortgage. Then Lisa called again. I heard Alex and Chloe are building a house. You helped them, right? Because of you, David is working 2 jobs and is exhausted. You only gave us $20,000. She tried to scold me. It seemed she had heard about our new living situation. I was stunned. But you agreed to the $20,000 back then. I can't change that now, I replied. Shut up. We're having a baby. What are you going to do about that? She demanded. Oh, really? Congratulations. But remember, we agreed to cut all ties, so I'm not giving you a penny, I said firmly. No matter what? She asked. Yes, no matter what. I've made up my mind, I said, standing my ground. You think you're so important? Even if my child is born, you won't get to see them. You'll regret this, Lisa said before hanging up. She seemed to think she could use her baby as a weapon to control me. I would love to have a grandchild, but I already have one, twins, a boy and a girl. Chloe is 8 months pregnant. I'm sorry, but I'm not interested in David's child at all, I replied. 6 months later, Chloe safely gave birth to the twins, and I was happily caring for them. Then, I received an email from David with a photo of his baby. It seemed that Lisa had also given birth, and the photo showed a cute baby with David and Lisa, but since we had cut ties, it wasn't my business, and I continued to ignore it. Then Lisa called. Did you see the picture? Isn't the baby adorable? She asked. Yeah, it's cute. What do you want? I replied, feeling cold. Don't talk like that. I went out of my way to show you your grandchild, your eldest grandson. You could at least send a congratulatory gift. What? I thought we agreed on no contact, except for weddings, funerals, and such, I said, frustrated. Yes, but a parent should at least send a congratulatory gift, she replied. I wasn't surprised. No, I'm sticking to the agreement, Helen, I firmly stated. Realizing it was pointless, Helen handed the phone to David. That's between you and Helen, not me, but you should send celebratory money, he demanded. It's your eldest grandson, don't you think you should take care of him? David seemed to think how I treated their grandchild would affect how they treat me when I'm older. I really don't need you to worry about my old age, I replied. Huh, you think you can rely on Alex with 2 kids of his own? Do you really think he'll take care of you? David asked. I'm not planning to rely on Alex and his family, I answered. So, what's your plan? I know you didn't get much from Dad's alimony. Wouldn't it be better to get close to us now? David asked, clearly pleased. I responded, like I said, I'll be fine. I've been paying into a personal pension plan since I was young. It's an old policy, so the rates are good, and I get about $800 a month starting this year. Plus, I've worked long enough to get about $800 from the government pension. I can live on both. There was a long silence before David stammered, but that's not much. When you get older and your body breaks down, you'll come crawling to us for help. Laughing, I said, don't worry, I canceled the life insurance where you were the beneficiary. I had life insurance policies for both David and Alex when they were born, with each of them as the beneficiary. I had canceled David's policy to pay off the $20,000 bill. There's plenty of money from the cancellation, so don't worry, I added. Cancelled? Are you serious? David asked, stunned. Pity, isn't it? I said, if I hadn't cancelled it, you would have gotten about $100,000 when I passed away. No way, David yelled. If you're going to blame someone, blame Helen. She's the one who told me to get $220,000 by any means necessary, I added. The cancellation refund was only about $50,000, so I had about $30,000 left. It wasn't enough to shock David, but I didn't feel the need to tell him the exact amount. Pleased with his stunned silence, I ended the call. Later, I learned that David and Helen had a huge fight. They're even talking about divorce, but they can't agree on alimony or child support, so they're living separately under the same roof. It's clear they're falling apart. As for me, I started working part-time as a cleaner to make sure I wouldn't be a financial burden on Alex and Chloe during my retirement. Warmly welcomed by my son and his wife, and surrounded by 2 grandchildren, I am truly happy now.